I'm curating my cabinet of curiosities and my top 10 curiosity decks. I'm bringing you along for the adventure. Let's get into it. Hello. Angel here. Welcome back to the space. If you're new, hello and welcome to the space. Today we are doing hashtag top 10 curiosity decks. This is the VR at Candysoulandsoil. I've had this on my list for a long time, a long while. And I was, flipping through my list a couple of days ago and I thought, this would be a great tag to do around this season. So here we are. I'm also bringing you along to curate my cabinet of curiosities. Yeah, we've got 10 decks, possibly couple of honourable mentions. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into, in no particular order, my top 10 curiosity decks. Let's do this. So before we start with the decks, let's talk about a cabinet of curiosities, which is also known as a wonder room. If you've seen The Conjuring with their room where they gather all of those unique, strange items, I would say it's a wonder room. It's a collection to reflect the interest of the curator. So it could be things from nature, man-made things, unusual, unique things, maybe objects from other worlds, other cultures. Oh, it's all very, very exciting. So we're talking coins, sculptures, plants, minerals, specimens, which is it's not going to be my bag, baby. Taxidermy, animals. It's not my bag either. It's a whole host of a collection of gorgeous, interesting things gathered by the curator. So yeah, that is a cabinet of curiosities. What does my cabinet of curiosities look like? Well, it's funny you should ask. I'm going to take you along on that journey as well. Let's start with the first deck in no particular order. Let's get to it. So the first deck that came to mind when I thought of my cabinet of curiosities was Remembering the Sweet Fall Tarot by Trisha Murray. This is an indie deck which I use for my deity work. And this for me covers the nature aspect of the cabinet of curiosities. This tag also sparked a memory actually for me. It kind of plocked forward a memory. And when I was thinking about the cabinet of curiosities being a wonder room, I suddenly made the connection to a memory that I had of my uncle when I was about 4 or 5 years old. My nana and my uncle used to live together in a house, and my uncle used to have his own den, and he used to have all these weird and wonderful items in his den. So for instance, he had a full set of armour with the helmet, and he had a couple of swords on the wall, and he had a very old-fashioned pistol on the wall as well. He had this very large wooden, I don't know what kind of wood it was because I was only young, roll-down desk, which was like beautiful. And he had this high-backed leather swivel chair, which he used to sit watching television in, like one of those old black and white, the old-fashioned box televisions. And I used to think of him as like a James Bond baddie when he used to sit in that chair because it was so high backed, And he even had like one of those very old-fashioned telephones that you talk into. I'm going to put a picture on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. This was nearly 50 years ago, obviously, and he had purchased these items from different antique shops. He used to work in London, so he used to. My family used to own quite a few kiosks and cafes in London. So he used to travel up to London every day and work in the kiosks and some of the cafes. And he would mooch around the antique shops when he was finished. And so he'd also got his hands on a tiger that had been a tiger skin that was made into a rug, and the tiger's head was still attached. And he even had a little table that the telephone stood on, which was actually an elephant's foot. So the elephant's foot was made into a table. I mean, it's unbelievable now when I think back to it. But as a 4 or 5 year old, I don't think you join the dots as a 4 or 5 year old of what these things actually are. And when I think back to it now, it's like, oh my goodness me, somebody had that. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so the whole den was just full of all these like really unique, unusual items that really sparked this curiosity within me as a 4 or 5 year old. It was like going into a like I can't even explain. It's like being a child and going to a sweet shop. It was like I remember my eyes like being as wide as saucers when I went in. You know, it was like, wow, what amazing item can I spot today? You know, it was just, oh, it was like, oh, it's fantastic. It really was. Anyway, so that's I'm going to dedicate actually this video to my ancestors, because it did spark that strong memory of this wonder room, this cabinet of curiosities. And so, as mentioned, this is the deck that that I connected first to the cabinet of curiosities. So this is why I'm showing this one. So this covers the nature aspect of my cabinet of curiosities. Let's move along. So this was the next one that made me think of a cabinet of curiosities. This is the Memento Mori Oracle. This was a second-hand pre-loved deck that I got my hands on via a buy-sell group. These are the backs. This just totally speaks to me of a cabinet of curiosities. It's got all these strange items in them, in the deck. Now, I'm using this deck currently right at the minute. I'm not gonna try and lead you astray. I'm gonna tell you as it is, and this deck is a all year round deck for me, because you know how I like my dark aesthetic decks. I would really like to get hold of what's that deck called that Claire Goodchild is bringing out? The Oracle of Oddities, maybe, something like that. I really want to get my hands on that, but I'm going to wait until it comes to this country that I'm in, because it's going to be very expensive. Postage cost wise, but I really want to get my hands on that one. So fingers crossed, I've got my fingers, my toes and all my body parts crossed that I will find a pre-loved copy sometime in the future, or I will be able to get my hands on it new from a shop in the vicinity. Really enjoy this one. It does mention in the guidebook that this one should be cleansed quite often. I know I'm what's the word, tempting fate, but knock on wood, I find this one a really great reader, and it had a lovely energy when it first came to me. It does kind of give me an ancestral vibe, and it's very spot on, this deck, very spot on. Now this is a Lenormand and Oracle deck, but I don't read Lenormand, so I just add all the Lenormand decks into the Oracle deck and use it just as a large Oracle. But I really enjoy this one, and it pairs. It's a really versatile deck in my collection, actually, because I do have a lot of darker decks. So it pairs really nicely with a lot of the decks in my collection. So this definitely ticks the box for animal bones, taxidermy, weird and strange and wonderful. Yeah, all the unusual things. This one definitely ticks the boxes for, I think. Love this. So yes, I'm going to stop there, because this card comes out quite often, and you know me, I do like a good tower card. So let's move on to the next deck. So the next deck is the Between the Worlds Shadow Casting with Bone and Curio Oracle cards. This is by Monica Budersky. It's got a large, chunky guidebook. I don't know if I've dreamt this, but I feel I've mentioned this previously, that the guidebook is really good. It does have a bit of a story behind each of the items that appear in the deck, which I now tend to just hop over and go straight to the message and the advice. But it's a really good guidebook, so I would definitely recommend it. This got me thinking about the curiosity cabinet for all the weird and strange and unique and interesting trinkets. It sparks this curiosity. I want to know more. This deck to me feels really witchy. It feels very apt for this time of year. I think I do feel I've mentioned this deck in a recent video, and mentioned that this kind of gives me like a portal feel. I feel the energy is like crackling around this deck. It's very this season. I've mentioned before that some of my other decks are all year rounders, but this one does tend to just come out as the veil is thinning. Now there are lots of different lots of different weird and wonderful items in this this deck. We've got like a doll's leg, we've got a rabbit bone, we've got a long bone, we've got a bear claw, and I think I've mentioned this before as well in a different video, that if one doesn't feel comfortable with animal parts and using those parts in their practice, this is a great opportunity and alternative, I think, for using animal parts, because there are so many different things. So, you know, if you don't want to go out and collect charms or, you know, use bones and things, then this is a great alternative, in my humble opinion. So yeah, this to me feels, well, it does what it says in the tin, you know, it feels like definite items from a curiosity cabinet. I love it. It sparks that 4 or 5-year-old in me again. And when I started to pull forward things for my own curiosity cabinet, I realised that I had a lot of items at home, you know. So clearly, you know, there's something in that 4 or 5-year-old. It's that treasure hunting, that spark of interest when I find something weird and wonderful and unusual, and it's like, ooh, it talks to something very deep in me, which I think sparks from this memory of my uncle's den, and I'm going to call it their wonder room, which is a new concept to me, you know, but it really does. So yeah, that was a bit of a babbly explanation, but just know that I'm using this month. Yeah, so no doubt you'll see it in one of my favourite videos coming soon. Let's move on to the next deck. Now this one might be a bit of a strange choice, but I think I'm going to be able to sell you on it, fingers crossed. The Folkloracle. This is a mass market deck by Mike Bass. These are the backs I think are lovely. This deck is in my autumn basket, and this kind of speaks to me of, you know, the different cultures, like the folklore, the strange items that, you know, you might find in like some kind of specimen jar. You know, I'm thinking like the head from the Headless Rider. I don't know if you'd want that in your jar, but, you know, in your wonder room or in like your cabinet of curiosities. But I just think it's a bit like a unicorn's horn, or you know some of those weird things that, you know, you can find in people's curiosity cabinets. Is it just me? Is it just me that's just seen those things, you know, those weird specimens? So that's what this deck speaks to me of, and that's why I chose this one. I just feel that, you know, you might have a picture of like the Loch Ness Monster or something, you know, or Bigfoot's footprint in mud or something, you know, those kind of things I think could be found in a cabinet of curiosities. So that's why this one came forward. I haven't used this one as much as I would like to, so I haven't really built that deeper relationship with it. I paired it maybe last year, I think, with the I can't think. I can never say the name of that deck. I'm going to pop their name on the screen. This totally is fantastic for this time of year. Love this. So yeah, I paired those two together, and they paired really, really nicely. And you know, there's a bit of in that deck, whatever that deck's called, there is like weird, unusual creatures in that as well. So yeah, they gelled really nicely together. And now I did have a bit of a reorganisation with my decks in September, I think, and I've kind of organised my decks into colours instead. So this colour way, I'm going to say, really speaks to me of the autumn season, hence the reason it's now currently in my autumn season basket. So I'm hoping that this is going to, you know, appear in the next couple of months, maybe November, which, just FYI, I am renaming my November this year in my calendar as October, because I've got so much I want to do in October, and I'm not going to have the time to do it all. So I've decided to rename November as October Take Two, basically. So so yeah, I've got 2 Octobers this year and no November, which is fine. This. So yes, this is a deck that I definitely thought of when I was thinking of my cabinet of curiosities and my top 10 curiosity decks. Let's move along. So the next deck on this list is the Divine Muses Oracle. This whole deck, this whole vibe really speaks to me of like a cabinet of curiosities. The guidebook even feels like a little leather-bound, gold-embellished grimoire that I found on my travels, you know, that I've curated into my cabinet of curiosities. So yeah, the whole thing just speaks to me of curiosities, weird and wonderful things. I love the backs and they're gorgeous. This is the mass market French version. I've edged mine in like this beige colour. Beige, is that the right word? I think so. And this kind of this reminds me of like old photos, old sepia toned photos that you find like in the attic, in like an old photo album from ancestors long forgotten or, you know, long gone. It also reminds me of maybe like, now I don't want to make this sound, what's the word? Offensive, but like old-fashioned carnivals. It kind of reminds me of like maybe old-fashioned circuses with like the bearded lady and the strong man, and it's got that whole vibe. It's got this like weird vibe, and people that can bend themselves, like contortionists that can bend themselves into strange positions and things. It gives me that vibe. I can't really explain it. It's also got this other culture vibe going on as well, which also kind of for me ticks the boxes for the for items that you might have in your cabinet of curiosities that you've gathered on your travels, visiting different countries and different places and different cultures and things. So it kind of ticks all those boxes. It's a bit bizarre, I know, but it definitely gives me this like kind of carnival vibe, like with the bearded lady and the maybe like the, I don't know, like in the olden days when they had like unusual people that you would go and see at these carnivals. It gives me that kind of vibe. It makes me feel a bit makes me feel a bit uncomfortable actually, this deck, in some ways. But I'm going to say that I think this deck is amazing. Did I mention that I'm using it this month? I think I did. Using it with the Dream Keeper's Tarot. Loving it. Really enjoying it. So yes, it's a weird vibe, but I do really like it. I do really like it. And these cards really do give me like this, it feels like a veil over the whole of the deck, which, really speaks to me of this season that we're in. So yeah, I've spoken about this one quite a lot recently, so I'm not going to do any more jibber-jabbering. Instead, we're going to move on to the next deck, which is, I'm not going to spoil it. Let's get into it. Next deck on my list is the Oracle of Crystal Skulls. This is a mass market deck. I got this one quite a while ago. I'm going to show you the backs. Here are the backs, and I've edged mine in black. Look at this. This totally looks like something you'd find in a cabinet of curiosities. A little bit scary. You can see they've just got the title of the skull, and a lot of the skulls in this deck are actually in the collection of Patrice Marty, I want to say the name is. So they're like the guardian of the skulls. And I mean, this is totally a skull I would expect to find in a cabinet of curiosities or a wonder room. Now, I pull these cards, I'm going to say weekly, or sometimes I've even worked with one card for the whole month. It just depends how it speaks to me. And I know this is going to sound a bit strange, but I've almost like I almost build a connection with the skull over the month. Yeah, and I kind of have used like another tarot deck to have a conversation with the skull as well. It's been really interesting, actually. Really good, interesting practice. What was I going to say? I was going to say that the guidebook is a bit it's a bit not hit and miss, but it's a bit of variation, I feel. It's not a standard set out for each of the skulls. So for instance, let's go with Magnificent Fire here. The guidebook is, this is the guidebook, and the guidebook is in alphabetical order. Should we see? Let's look. Here we go. So there we go. There's Magnificent Fire. You've got this like a thumbnail. Date of discovery, which was unknown. Material is red jasper, which is associated with the first chakra. It says stone of anchoring and success, helps regulate excessive energies, allows you to refocus, supports various addiction problems or obsessive compulsive disorders, provides help to stop difficulties in a more serene way. And it's even got the weight. It tells you where this skull was found. So this skull was found in Colombia in a cave near the Ecuadorian border at the Citadel Safadana near Rio de Oro. The tribe speaks the aromatic language. And then the message from the skull is, place me on your heart, let my message reach you. And it even tells you who the guardian is. Now some of the guardians are differ from the actual person who curated the deck, and some of the skulls, sorry, even tell you what website to go to kind of get some more information. So it differs throughout the guidebook. It's not standard information, but there's been quite a few of the skulls that have been not stalker cards, but that I've pulled several times, and therefore my connection to that specific skull has kind of deepened. It's been really interesting practice actually. So yeah, I would definitely expect to find something like this, you know, from the curator's travels around the world. Possibly they might have, you know, found a skull in some kind of not tweed, but like not antique shop, but kind of weird and wonderful shop on their travels, you know, that's made its way into some kind of market that they've you know just happened to come upon and purchase and pull into their collection. Oh look, E.T. So yeah, so I would definitely expect to find this kind of thing in a cabinet of curiosities. So the next deck that had to be found on this list is Boadicea's Tower of Earthly Delights. This is the Kickstarter version. There is, hurrah, a mass market version out. It's recently been released. Do you like this bag? I love it. I found it on eBay. It was a private seller that was crocheting themselves, and I really wanted to get my hands on it, so I bid on it and won it. These are the backs I think are absolutely stunning. This is just weird and wonderful. I've used this deck quite a lot. When I first got it, I was really like unsure. And you know, if you've been watching me for a while, you remember the whole hoo-ha that I was like, I don't know if I like this deck. I don't know if I like the borders. Oh, I just don't know. And then I used it for a month and I was like, oh my God, I love this deck. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I can't even think how I was thinking of like rehoming it. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But again, back to the Cabinet of Curiosities, this is just weird. It's weird and wonderful. And it's kind of got that, I'm going to go back to the whole carnival vibe, this whole weirdness going on. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what it is. But I love it anyway. It speaks to that 4 or 5-year-old within me that's still enamoured with my uncle's den and all the weird and wonderful things in that den. Oh, honestly, I'm really glad that because I you know, I was sitting no, I'm going to go off on tangent, just FYI. I was sitting, you know, thinking about this video and like, you know, writing some bits and pieces in my what's the word, journal about, you know, when I'm thinking about filming videos and stuff. Not that I script, but anyway, just some ideas and all the things that came flooding back about my uncle's Wonder Room and Cabinet of Curiosities was like, oh my goodness, I totally forgot about that. Like there was a lamp that he had, which was awful to think about it now, but it was an antelope's foot that he had, which was a lamp. And I remember being, you know, a 4 or 5-year-old and stroking that leg of the antelope. Oh, it's just so weird, the things that, you know, that you forget, and then, you know, something sparks a memory and all these things come flooding back. It's just amazing. Love it. So yeah, I don't know why we got onto that with the lamp, but yeah, this is definitely a Cabinet of Curiosities deck for me. And, you know, I'm so glad it's come out mass market now so that more people can get their hands on it, because it's fascinating. I'm totally fascinated by this deck. I'm fascinated by the Cabinet of Curiosities feel to it, the uniqueness, the strangeness, the weirdness. I want to know more. I'm confused. This is me when I look at this deck. I'm like, what is going on here? But I'm in it. It's totally, you know, it's totally captured my attention. Love this deck. I think it's going to be coming out in the 2nd October of the year for me, which is, you know, aka November. So, you know, yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. Does this not feel like their Cabinet of Curiosities? Look, they've got all this, you know, not just tools, but they've got like all these luscious, delicious things that they've gathered. Oh, I just love it. Nom, 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 nom. So the next deck is a deck I haven't used for the longest time. This is the Literary Witches Oracle. Mass market deck. It's a deck that I got very, very early on in my practice. These are the backs, which I think are delicious. The cardstock is like, I want to say it's like linen, but it, you know, oh, it's lovely. The cards are gorgeous. We've got cards, we've got 2 sections. We've got authors, cards split into the authors, and then other cards split for like objects. And I'm going to go a bit more into the guidebook in a wee second, but when I first got this deck, although I really like the look of it, the guidebook doesn't go into so much information, and as a newbie I didn't really know where to go with this deck. So this deck has been kind of sitting on my desk, sorry, on my shelf, my tarot shelf, in a basket, resting for the longest time. What I will say is, back in September, I mentioned previously, I did a reshuffle, and this deck has now found its way into my autumn deck basket, like with the colour palette, with the colourway, and I'm feeling really, really drawn to it now. Maybe like for October take 2, aka November. So I'm really feeling drawn to this. And what I did find at the beginning when I first started using this deck was that by researching into the authors, it kind of introduced me to authors that I'd never known before, and it kind of opened a whole new world to different writers that I had never thought about reading. Oh look, Shirley Jackson! This is the author I want to read. You know, The Haunting of Hill House. No, wait, The Horse on Haunted Hill. That's what it's called. The House on Haunted Hill. That's this is her. This is her. Oh, you see? So it opens you up to new things. And you know, I never realised that Shirley Jackson was in this deck. What a lovely discovery. You know, on camera. I like that. Let me go to the guidebook. Where's the guidebook gone? It's in the box, I'm not going to show you. But basically, there's like a couple of keywords for each of the items. It does go a bit more into depth with the authors about what they have written and who they are and what their life was like. But this, the actual objects, didn't really say very much, which kind of left me hanging. So I started to build a very crude, very crude, very rustic, as you can see, guidebook myself. And so I, you know, kind of, I clearly looked up quotes and, you know, thought about what the card meant for me. So for instance, here we've got chicken, and it says chicken, ancient past, law, prosperity, unhealthy hearsay, fertility, scratch the itch, reevaluate your response, chatter and gossip. Then I even found a quote. What came first, the chicken or the egg? So I suppose I kind of was, you know, tried to pull forward a quote to spark maybe like a journal question or a continuation of my exploration with tarot, maybe. So using tarot to you know, kind of open this up for me, I think was the plan. It was so long ago that I got this deck that I haven't used it for such a long time. So yeah. And I clearly haven't finished it, and it's clearly very rudimentary, but you know, it does the job, I think. So I'm looking forward to getting this one back out this season actually, and delving into it, and possibly, you know, exploring some new authors, yeah, and reading some new things that I wouldn't possibly have felt called to read previously. So yeah, do you have this deck? I think I've seen some people modify this deck. They are quite big cards, and I would be quite interested in making them a bit smaller, but they're very nice. They are very, very nice cards. I think when I used it initially, I blended the objects and the authors together. But I think this time around, I think I'm thinking of, you know, using them separate. And it does have that Memento Mori vibe to me, I think, with the items, you know. And even possibly the, what's that deck called that I just showed you? Between the Worlds Oracle, it's kind of got the same vibe. And even maybe Compendium of Witches, I've also got that deck, which has also got this like divided category suit, you know, malarkey going on. So yeah, looking forward to this one coming forward. It does give me a bit of an uneasy, you know, weird and wonderful vibe, you know. And, you know, the artwork of the authors, you know, that is a bit ominous. Is it not a bit ominous? Is it just me? I think it's a bit strange. You know, I want to know more. I'm intrigued. Tell me. Speak to me. What's, you know, so, you know, it's a bit, it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I like that. Make me feel uncomfortable. I want it. I'm ready for it. I'm looking forward to it this season. Let's move along. So the next deck on the list is the Talisman Oracle. It had to appear in this list. Here, these are the backs I think are stunning. I've spoken about this one a lot. I use this one for my inner mausoleum work, the edged out the box. And this deck again, you know, when I started thinking about my uncle and their den and, you know, their wonder room, their cabinet of curiosities, it kind of made me start. It started me off on this deck. You know, for instance, this kind of thing with this armor that he used to have. This full armor standing in the corner. You know, we've got some weird masks going on. This deck now also makes me think of, like, you know, those I can't think what the procedure's called, or what but anyway, where people used to pin butterflies to, you know, to boards and have them on their wall. It makes me think of that kind of thing. And again, these jars filled with different specimens and this taxidermy vibe. It's got all of it in this deck now for me when I look at it. Previously, I've mentioned I use this for my inner mausoleum work, and they've kind of been like symbols that I've you know, experienced dashing around in my inner mausoleum. But looking at it again with fresh eyes for this prompt really does make me think of this whole taxidermy specimen jar. Weird and wonderful, yeah, curated items. It really does. So yeah, here we go. And my uncle also used to have, I don't know if it was a deer, it was some kind of animal, I can't remember, because obviously I was like 4 at the time, 4 or 5 years old, so I can't remember, but he had like a head of an animal, which I wonder if it was like a stag, or it was something with horns, very large horns. And actually their whole house was like a whole collection of, it was like one large wonder room, but the whole house, it was like all these weird things going up the stairs as well, you know, different animal heads, and there was some more swords that he had, and it was just so interesting. The whole house was really, really interesting. It kind of sparked this curiosity. Yeah, love these memories that have come flooding back, and it feels very apt to honour my ancestors with this video, actually, for this time of year. So the last deck on this list is the Woodland Wardens. I know, right? But I'm following the whole theme of the taxidermy animals, and the animals on the, you know, the heads of the animals on the walls, and even like, you know, I've seen people have in their cabinet of curiosities like animals that are stuffed, like, you know, maybe like a weasel or something standing on a log with some dried flowers, or maybe like stuffed birds in a dome standing on branches. It's all very bizarre. It kind of follows the whole theme of the, I can't think what it's called, but when people, you know, used to pin the butterflies to like boards and you have them as pictures on the wall. It all follows that kind of theme, I think. It's this almost macabre vibe going on, I think, and that's what this kind of pulls up for me. Look at this. This is gorgeous. Love this. Here we go. Is this a weasel? No, it's a marten. That looks a bit like a weasel to me. Here we go. We've got the wolf, and even people like maybe that have like animals' feet or crow's feet or animal pelts or anything like that. It kind of gives me the same vibe. So that's why I chose Woodland Wardens. Did I mention that this one has ended up in my autumn basket and I want to get it out? I'm looking, I think, to get it out next month, October take 2. I have some major plans for October take 2, and even this October, the real deal, the real McCoy. It's all to do with my feral witch, but we'll get into that in another video, I think. So yes, here we are. That we're going to stop. We're going to stop here because this kind of reminds me of the animal head that I mentioned that my uncle had on his wall with some kind of horn, some kind of horned animal. Can't think what it was because I was too young, and the memory is still escaping me. Yes, do I have a couple of honourable mentions? I think I might have. So my first honorary mention is the Ritual Tarot by Tirame. I know it might be a bit strange, but this deck speaks to me of antiquities or like artifacts, religious relics, other cultures, and those are the kind of things that I expect also to find in a cabinet of curiosities. Not mine, not my cabinet of curiosities, but other people's. So for that reason, I just wanted it to have an honorary mention. I think this deck definitely speaks to me of that. This one also piques my interest. I'm intrigued. I want to know more. It's that 4 or 5-year-old inside me that there's this treasure hunt going on in the images. You know, what can I see? What can I find in these images? What's been added and why? And it is almost like this curation. It's all these different things that have been added together. It is. It's like a box. It's like a deck of curiosities for me, definitely. And the final deck, the final honorary deck, is Tarot Volatile. This feels strange, unusual. These are the backs. Let me show you the backs first. These are gorgeous. Yeah, strange and unusual. It's the kind of art, I think, that you might find in a wonder room, which is why this one made its way into this list. I mean, it's not, this kind of thing wouldn't be in my wonder room, but I can imagine it would be in many, from people that have, travelled across the world and maybe, have all these kind of artworks on their way. It's a bit weird and it's a bit ominous, and I do feel a little bit uncomfortable looking at these images, I've got to say. I mean, this kind of thing, you've got this tree growing out of this person. It does make me feel a bit, I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know if I'm understanding it yet, which might come with, me working with this deck. At the minute, I haven't worked with this deck. This was an early birthday Christmas present to myself, and I'm planning on using or deep diving the brains out of this deck actually in October take 2, aka November. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into this one in the winter. But it feels dark, and it does feel ominous. I've got a bit of trepidation about this deck actually, about working with it, if I'm completely honest. But not that means I'm not looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it, but I'm going to be interested to know how it reads. I'm very excited. So yes, there we go. That is it. We are done. I'm going to thank you so much for spending some time with me. May I ask what you would have had on this list? Which decks would have made your top 10 curiosity decks? And what would be in your cabinet of curiosities? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to know, because I'm nosy and I want to know it all. So yes, I'm going to thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I'm going to wish you a lovely morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Take care, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next video, which is coming very, very soon. See you in that one. Toodaloo.